Welcome back, guys. I am Jake Ellenbogen, and today we're going to talk about really my thoughts on the Sean Desai hire, why I think it's very intriguing and could even bring in a free agent lured right off the market. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow me at JK Bogan and on all social media. And if you like, additional content, you can check out the podcast that I still haven't put out an episode in a week for. Need to do that. Anyway, let's dive into it. So, Sean Desai, 40 years old, started as a coach, graduate assistant at Temple from 2006 to 2009, became the outside linebackers coach and special team coordinator in 2010 at Temple, then went to Miami, Florida, Miami U, in 2011, assistant director of football operations. 2012, he became the Boston College running back coach and special team coordinator. And then he joined the Bears. So he joined the NFL in 2013, was the defensive quality control coach from 2013 to 2018. So he's definitely been around. Then, was promoted to safeties coach in 2019 to 2020. And then Chicago Bears, he became the defensive coordinator in 2021. Seattle, he becomes the associate head coach and defensive assistant. And he was just the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles before being let go after that. Now the Rams have just brought him in as a senior defensive assistant, and you guys want to know what I think. The reason why I believe you guys want to know what I think about this is because I read the DMs. Jake, where's the video? It's been a day now. I understand. I had some things going on, so now we have this video up, but let's talk about it. Desai, first ever coordinator in the NFL, first ever person of Indian descent to become a coordinator in the NFL. So that's really cool. I like that. The Eagles hired Desai to replace Jonathan Gannon. It was pretty much assumed that he was going to keep things kind of the same way that Gannon had them, add a little bit of his flavor, but for the most part, be more of like an attacking defense. Gannon went to become a head coach in Arizona, so he took over. The Eagles went 10-3, and Nick Sirianni decided to demote Desai as the DC and play caller and give the role over to Matt Patricia. That didn't really go anywhere because the Eagles ended up just falling off a cliff. The Philadelphia Inquirer did end up reporting that Desai did not carry himself with confidence, in quote, and some players started to feel that, end quote. So, I'll say this. I don't want to beat Philadelphia media, to a bloody pulp, but I'm just going to say this right now. It seems like that's a place I wouldn't want to coach. I remember when Andy Reid would bring his team to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, and they lost, whatever. And people were calling for his head. Yep, that same Andy Reid that just won back-to-back Super Bowls. Carson Wentz, I feel like was, just dragged through the mud in Philly by the media. So I don't know if I necessarily buy everything the media sells when it comes to Philly, when it comes to New York, all the time. Desai was reportedly not part of teams' coaches' meetings after he was demoted. So really, they just kind of isolated him. He didn't get fired, but did basically get fired, and then eventually did end up getting fired after the last game of the year. Jordan Rodriguez reported on this. She actually tweeted this out. Desai will be in a multifaceted role that will work with the offense and offensive coaches from a defensive perspective. And she mentioned that the Rams have quietly staffed a job like this for a couple of years now. So interesting stuff nonetheless. My thoughts on this are simple. I like the guy. Because I think it makes a lot of sense. He's got to get his self in order. I didn't love the way, Sirianni handled him. I didn't like it at all, actually. And, I'm rooting for him. I hope he can get back on his feet. I think he can offer something for the Rams. I don't think this is just a, only the Rams win this or only Sean Desai wins this. I think this is a very mutual thing here where both, parties can benefit from it. But speaking of things that you can benefit from, Manta Sleep, which is today's sponsor. Manta Sleep is awesome. I do not go to bed without this thing over my eyes. C-shaped eye cups allows you to sleep on your side, 100% blackout. That is the sound mask that I just showed you. And really, it's so good. 20 plus hours of battery life. It's, Bluetooth connected to your phone. You can get your Manta Sleep purchase getting 10% off that today using promo code JKBogan. The link is in the description, and be sure to hit that link at 10% off. Now back to the video. So, look, when it comes to Desai, I'm all for this. I like the idea of adding a guy that may have lost his way a little bit and try to get him back up the rungs. That's really the coaching game, right? It's like, okay, this didn't work out. And, now you have to prove yourself. You have to go down a little bit and build yourself back up. He was once considered a potential head coaching candidate. I saw him on a few of those lists, during the season. And that's the bummer. So you want to see a guy like that get back to it. I've heard that he's a nice dude. I don't know him personally, but I've heard good things about him as a person. And I think obviously that's why the Rams wanted to bring him in. Here's another reason why the Rams might have wanted to bring him in, because I find this very fascinating. I don't think it's talked about nearly enough because everyone talks about his time with the Eagles. They don't talk about his time with the Bears. They don't talk about the fact that he had 4 seasons coaching under Vic Fangio and what that means, because this Rams defense may not be the Vic Fangio scheme to a T, but it is derivative from the Vic Fangio scheme. So let's start with the first thing. The Bears just cut Eddie Jackson, a Pro Bowler under Sean Desai. At one point when he was on, he was the best safety, or at least one of the best safeties in football. So obviously some injuries hurt and whatnot, but he's still a very talented player in his own right. He was just cut by the Bears. Desai has worked with him. Could Desai be enough to lure him over to the Rams? He's now a free agent. He's 30 years old. He also plays safety. This is a position where I'm going to do one of those Colin Cowherd comparisons. Ready? You guys love those. I know some of you do. Look, the TV market. Have you noticed how easy it is to get a nice TV now? Like, because as time goes on, there's bigger and bigger TVs to get, and so it lowers all of them. But in reality, I was just talking about this with my father. It is so easy to get a TV nowadays. You could get a 4K. I just looked at 4K QLED right around my area. You can go pick it up at Target for $600, $550. I mean, that's crazy. Oh, I didn't even tell you. It's like a 75-inch. No big deal. Remember when those used to be like $5,000? Yeah. I also seem to remember when safeties used to be a lot of money as well. The safeties are essentially the TV market. You can go out and get a talented safety for cheap. So why not do that? Eddie Jackson is a 30-year-old with injury problems in his history. He is not going to command a ton of money. He's just not. It's why I talked about Darnell Savage. It's why I've talked about Jordan Fuller. I think those guys can be had for under $5 million each. So with that said, I wouldn't be against bringing Eddie Jackson to LA. I don't know if that's something they do, but it's something that could happen because I like the Desai connection. And I want to go back. I understand what I said. Jordan Rodriguez said that this is a multifaceted position. Offense will work with the offense and offensive coaches from a defensive perspective. That doesn't mean he might not be enough to bring in Eddie Jackson. Who knows? Interesting thing to keep in mind. Last but not least, though, we'll end with this. Desai is a great fit because he comes from the Vic Fangio scheme. He's one of the Fangio disciples. Sadly, Fangio ended up taking his job, but you could see the Eagles, you could see what they were going for. They were looking for somebody to run that type of defense. My thing is, if you want to know what that even means, a lot of deep, two high safety shells. Then you have zone coverage, mainly going to be cover 2 and some quarters coverage, lighter boxes. I mean, we've seen it, right? The Rams have it's not, exactly the same. They play a lot of cover 3. They play match zone. They use 3 safeties. They have a star. They've done different things to make it their scheme, but it is derivative from Vic Fangio. It's not like 100% a Vic Fangio copy, but it's the way the NFL is. You take things that you like and you make your own scheme out of it. You add your own flavor to it. So Desai has a familiarity with what the Rams are doing, so I think that's going to help. And another thing that's going to help is that, look, I'll be honest with you. I question the Eagles' coaching culture, okay? I don't really like what I saw last year. I didn't like how Brian Johnson, their offensive coordinator, went from being a potential head coaching candidate to now he had to take a lesser job. And I didn't like that Sean Desai was cast aside and was honestly it was a little unprofessional. I mean, either fire the guy or don't, but don't demote him, then not let him be a part of team meetings and such. And of course, I wasn't there, to be fair, but it just doesn't seem like it's a great culture over there right now. That could change, but the Rams do have a great culture. We know that. So I think this is a great opportunity for Desai to reset his value, reset his market, and I think he makes a lot of sense for the Rams because their defense, or not their defense, their coaching staff is pretty much full. So going out and getting a guy that was a defense coordinator last year, to pair with a guy that they got who was an offensive coordinator last year, to pair with another guy who they got that was the quarterback coach last year. And, oh, by the way, you're also pairing it with a guy who was an interim head coach in Jeff Smith over with the Chargers. I like this, this push. Like, go out and get some guys that had some big roles, and let's minimize those roles a little bit and put them in better positions to succeed. That's what I see. I think this is a good hire. We'll see if Eddie Jackson does become a Ram because of this. It's just something to keep an eye on. It's not something I'm saying it's going to happen, but I feel like I'd be doing you a disservice as the viewer to not mention that possibility. I definitely think Eddie Jackson could be a Ram, and I think Desai could have something to do with it. Plus, he would fit this defense like a glove. So that's what I got. I like the move. For those of you asking me, I like the move. Can't talk too much on it because, again, I don't have stats. I don't have film that I can really watch to really analyze who he is. But based on what I've read, the research I've done, who I've talked to, and just, watching from afar, I like Desai. He's not my favorite coach in the entire world, and I think he's going to take over as the head coach to Sean McVay or anything like that, but I like him. And I hope the guy, I don't like people failing. I want to see everyone succeeding. And I hope we get to see him succeed and get to push forward and build that resume back up. But those are my thoughts. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Once again, of course, this is brought to you by Mantis Sleep. Use promo code JKBogan. It'll get you 10% off your purchase. Link is in the description below. You can follow, you can subscribe, you can like, you can comment. It helps the channel. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later.